So I don't know how long. We'll just chat. That's fine, I can swear. Swear you like, it's just be totally natural. Cool, okay. So, hi, hello, welcome to episode 4 of 10:30 Shares a Dram. I'm Alan Moore, director and designer at 10:30. I'm joined today by David Eustace, one of Scotland's most prolific photographers and creative individuals. It's about 12 o'clock in the afternoon, so we're not drinking today. We're just on the Glasgow tap water, which is just as good as some whiskies. So we're just going to have a kind of natter and kind of chat away. But David, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me, mate. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, we've got a cracking day. It is quite hot in the studio. But
that's what I was laughing. I was downstairs coming in here and I thought, I've got this old clapped out sad car, an old soft top. And it's one of these opportunities you get to put the roof down.
Yeah. And
I was driving through with my sunglasses on and I thought I'm going to end up looking like a panda Donald Trump when I get here. I'll keep these on at the moment, but no, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Just a great studio, great view.
Yeah. And you're from here originally?
Yeah,
so
I'm East End Glasgow.
How much has it changed? Has it changed quite a lot?
This is from the 70s. All my friends went to St Mungo's, which is just across the street. I went to Smithycroft up in Ridgwick.
Right.
But this neighbourhood, it's always a community. It's always a brilliant community. I've got a sort of. I never spent that much time there. Well, that's not true. I did spend quite a lot of time, but I never lived down here.
Yeah.
And there's always that affiliation with the Calton and East End, and I love it.
Yeah.
I think there is such a spirit of community. But for this whole area, for many years, Glasgow has been trying to create spaces where, it started probably 15, 20 years ago with the Merchant City, and the Merchant City was okay, but it shows you it's people like yourself and the younger creatives who do this.
Yeah.
When you look at places like Finiston in recent times, and you're looking down here at Crown Point Road, these places weren't council driven as such, and it's the young artists. It's not any different than places in like Soho in New York back in the 80s. That they sort of find themselves. So this whole area, I love it. Absolutely love it.
It's cool. I really like it. I think that sort of sense of community really kind of comes across, and not just the kind of new artistic community, but everyone.
Yeah, and the other good thing about it as well, some of these buildings are being saved.
Right.
In the 70s and the 80s, they demolished so many, and if you look at the steelwork and the brickwork, the windows, that's exactly. If I'm looking there, I could easily be looking out a studio window in New York.
Yeah.
Okay, you wouldn't see. I don't know what hills that is. That's over the Eagle Shimmer. I wouldn't know. You wouldn't see that. But the window, everything's the same. So it's from that period. I love it.
Yeah, I love it. We're kind of trying to create that. Thank you. That kind of industrial feel to the brand, the experience, but can soften up with this nice antique.
And it's that whole thing where it's brilliant. Companies do try and replicate that, but there's something magical when time creates it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean with that? And that's what's happened here, and that's how I love. One of the things I do more and more is I'm meeting with companies, and I'm not really an ABC 1, 2, 3 man. I don't really do formal as such. I offer an opinion, and that's all it is. It's just an opinion. It's a personal gut feeling, personal interest based on experience and travels. But one of the things you do see is I love when you get a building like this. And this is what I say to companies. Work with it. Find the soul in it. Make it interesting. You just need 1 or 2 interesting pieces in it. Celebrate it.
Yeah.
And too many try to make it look like an airport lounge, or they try to make it look like, something that's, I hate to say it, it becomes bland brand, as I call it. This to me has got life. It's got soul. It's got people passing through. It's got hopes. It's got spirits. I love that.
Yeah. Nice one. No, that's nice to hear. So you're a very busy man. As I said, one of the most prolific photographers in Scotland, contemporary Scotland. Photographing the likes of Sophia Loren, Ewan McGregor, people like that, and the pages of Vogue and GQ especially. You seem to have a really successful kind of life balance. Is that something that you're quite conscious of, or do you see it as just it's one entity?
It's weird for me because when I was 29, I used to be a prison officer just up the road. funny because people still think of, you know, when I was at Condé Nast, when I was working weekly for GQ, Vogue, Telegraph, Tatler, The Times, most of London magazines, ES. I don't take as many photographs now as I do for many reasons. Probably some because, you know, it's changed so much with the digital age. And I work digitally. I think it's important to keep ahead of what's going on. But also now that I'm back in Scotland after 17 years, I've been renting a place in New York. But I now live in Scotland. I generally think a lot of people think, oh, he's going to be too expensive. And that's not the case. So I don't do as much of that, but when I left to jail, I always found I would never have another real job again. Now that doesn't mean I don't work hard, but what it means is I'm fortunate that I can try and do things that I love. At the moment, for the last year, I've been trying to get an old house. So I think I don't see it as work-life balance. I think it's hugely important you do have that in your life. But I try and do work that I enjoy, even work I don't enjoy, if that makes sense. So if I need to go and dig a hole, I'm going to try and enjoy doing it. You know, it's an approach to it. The one thing I would say is that the other thing I'm very keen on doing now that I've not really done for years is work more in a partnership as a team with someone. And you can't do that in photography, so it'd be more like a creative advisor or consultant. And that's the one thing I would bring to life, work balance for me is perfect. The one thing I do miss from, say, the camaraderie of being working in a prison or working in a sports shop or being in the Royal Naval Reserve or whatever, is that we are working with a group each day. So that's the thing I would like to improve.
No, I totally agree. I wasn't in prisons, but I worked in bars, which I suppose could have similarities. But when I left the bar, I said the same. You know, I was like, I'll never work for someone else. I just want to do it on my own. But I find the same. It can be quite lonely. Is not the word. It's not lonely. But you're on your own, and it's sometimes you need those people to bounce ideas off them.
Absolutely, and I think sometimes, you know, there's elements of insecurity and everything. You know, you look at something, you go, is this right? Now that doesn't mean you ultimately won't go, yes, it is right. But you want to hear different things sometimes. You want somebody to go, what do you think of that? You go, no. And when sometimes somebody offers you something, it can make your mind even sharper, clearer. So I do miss that, you know, just even to come up with new ideas and to look over where you're going with things. I like working in collaborations, and it's something I don't do enough of. And I don't know why I don't get asked as much, probably because I was having lunch with somebody the other day there, and they said, well, it's because people think you're too expensive. And that's generally not the case. You know, it's not the case.
It's difficult to, I would imagine, in your circumstances, it's difficult to kind of shake that, though, isn't it? To get.
Well, it is because you're doing. I've worked on some huge productions. I remember I was doing do you ever remember a movie called The School of Rock with Jack Black?
Yeah.
I remember I'd actually came over to Scotland for the weekend. I was in London doing an edit, and my agent in New York at the time had phoned my house and got my wife and said, where's David? And Deirdre had said, you know, he's on his way back, he's coming up from London. And the agent at the time said, well, he needs to be in New York tomorrow morning first thing, because we're shooting. So I had to jump on Concorde the next morning, and I turned up to the studio, but it wasn't one studio, we rented 3 studios, and I'm thinking, I'm coming in here. And I always remember the production on that, because it was Jack Black, and there was Jack Black's management, his agents, then there was about, I don't know, 15 kids, and they all had their management, they all had their stage moms, they all had their PRs, they had everything. And so we had these 3 studios, and I was walking into this utter chaos, and I thought, what's this about? And it's, you know, well, this guy called Jack Black is going, he's like a teacher, and he teaches all these kids music, and I had to shoot the whole campaign. So you're coming sometimes off the back of that, and it was everywhere. And that one in particular was everywhere. Where you do, but you can do other things. I recently done a thing with friends. I love the people at Scottish Ballet. I think they're brilliant. Chris, Charlotte, Carrie, the whole group of them there. And for the last couple of years I've shot something. We just shot Swan Lake, you know, the Swan Lake poses. And to work with that is brilliant because you're working with 2 or 3 people. And earlier this year I also worked with Roberta and the guys at the National Theatre of Scotland for the James plays. But again, it's good because they let you collaborate and you can put ideas together.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not in any way the Grand Swan Lake or the National Theatre's budgets compared to Paramount Pictures.
No,
so you get that balance. It's
Yeah.
all about being involved in something.
Yeah.
You know?
I suppose sometimes it is more about, it's more than just cash, it's more than just a transaction.
Cash is nice because it lets me build a house, you know, which is a dream. But I've never been driven by it, and I've hopefully never been somebody who's been dictated by it, you know, or a slave to it. I do like it, and I do know there's value to it, but equally, there's no such thing as a shroud with pockets. You're not going to take it with you. You know, I can honestly say I've never been driven by cash, and I've done jobs for pennies, literally. Some of them for nothing if it's a right project. Others have done for hundreds of thousands. You know, it depends what it is. But for me, now at the stage in my life, I just want to start working with teams and advisors, moving out from it. You know, because photography has changed dramatically in the last 15 years. You know, a student once said to me, not that long ago, 6 months ago, what was the difference between analog and digital? And I said, digital makes it easier for those who know what they're doing, and it makes it possible for those who don't. And that's the difference. There's so many people now. It's opened up floodgates, which is brilliant because it's given so many creative opportunities. But equally, it's diluted and suffocated a lot. And I'm still of the mentality, when I take photographs, I want to make an image that will last a lifetime. Most people want to make it so it can get 50, 60 hits like that, you know, on Instagram, you know. But, you know, I actually like working with photographers. I recently done a thing where there was I can't say the brand, they asked me not to, but there was a big corporation who asked me to work on their behalf with the advertising agency, and they were talking about imagery and how they wanted the images to look. So I was working with a fellow photographer, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it was great that people had an understanding. You know, you're bringing something because the client had said to me, you know, we know what we want, but we don't actually know what's good and what's not good. And that was it. And the agency like it because they're also working with somebody who can make a decision.
Definitely. I think in that sort of sense, it's about sort of trying to educate the client slightly as well. Not educate, that's not the right word.
But there's nothing wrong. I know what you mean, and it's what it's doing is highlighting the importance. You know, if you open a newspaper or a magazine tomorrow, what gets your attention? Something with some interest. Do you know what I mean? And if you try and create doesn't have interest, then where do you go with it? You know, there's the Glasgow founded company, the Weir Group, which I made a project from, I think it was about 2012, 2013, about 4 or 5 years ago. And their stuff had always been very corporate. That's what oil and gas companies do. They're very corporate companies. And there was a lady there at the time called Victoria. And Victoria said to me, well, you know what, Dave, we don't really want any more of this. And I said, well, I'm not the right person for that anyway. I could find you the right person, but I'm not the right person. There's others who can do it better than me. I said, well, why don't we create an artist portfolio? And she said, what's that? I said, well, look, the two guys who founded the Vogue group, they tried to see the world that a little bit different, and it succeeded. So, to cut a long story really short, they gave me complete free range, and I said, here you go. The only criteria was I had to visit 3 of their plants. One was I could work with ones that was, but the ones that were selected were Santiago, one in Sao Paulo, and one in Fort Worth, Texas. And we went, and I worked on it until I thought it was ready, and we agreed what the deliverables were going to be, and we got, and that was fine. And that portfolio, since then, they've used it for 1,000 reasons they could never have imagined. Because before, they would normally have used it for corporate library. But now that they've got some of the walls, they've used it for some of the new offices, it's been shown in the Scottish Gallery. I mean, and that's what one of the guys said to me. He said, you know what? The only time we've been in the papers isn't necessarily always for the right reasons. He said, but here we are, we're on a gallery wall in Edinburgh, Scotland's older, one of the world's oldest galleries, we're now in the National Collection. We could never have imagined thing that was lovely for me, Alan, was when I was in Valparaiso over in Chile doing Santiago. Well, when I was in Santiago, I was doing some places round about, and we were near Valparaiso. And I was talking to this one guy, and they were speaking Spanish, and I can't understand languages, and we were just having a joke, you know, the hand movements and all that. And I was photographing it, and they all thought I was crazy, local, you know, because I'm photographing all these things. And the next day I came back and I showed the guys what it was I was photographing, and they loved it. And the funny thing was just splashes of paint on a floor similar to this, splashes of paint, and this guy had worked in that spot, that very spot, for nearly 30 years, making the thing, that was his bench. And I said, you know, through a translator, basically it went along the lines of, he said he never realised how beautiful it looked at his feet. And I said, isn't that brilliant? And I said, and here's something that's far more important, you helped create it. And he just became full of life, he loved it. And it was that sort of thing where it came back to the principle of what the two brothers who founded the group did all these years ago. They're trying to see the world that little bit different. And that's what this guy and some of the staff did. So they all took a genuine interest in it. And it went, you know, that when it came back to the company, the guys used it for many reasons now. So it was a joint collaboration. There's no point getting a dog and barking. You know, if you're going to bring a photographer on, you might as well get them to contribute. You know, so it's getting that fine. Education is not the wrong word for it. Because if I walk into my accountants, I go in there because I hope to be educated. You know, and it's not a derogatory term in any way. In fact, it's complete opposite. It's a wonderful phrase is education. So possibly it is education, and a lot of clients, rightly so, they're experts in other things. But when it comes to making an image, unfortunately, that's one of the things. You know?
No, you're right. I think we've done some corporate work as well, and the successful projects that have worked and have continued to work are from the companies who are really open-minded, who are really sort of saying, well, you're in the know, you know what you're doing, we trust you to do that, as long as you deliver it.
And there was an amazing, well, still are an amazing company, Anthropology in the US. I've got a lot of time for anthropology and the guys out. But anthropology was something founded by a guy called and anthropology was something I never even knew it was, and it wasn't trying to be. Anthropology was a brand before brand was a buzzword. And anthropology and Paul Smith, they became brands because the people who fronted it cared. They had a passion, they had an identity, they had a voice. They were followers, they were leaders, they weren't followers. They had a decision and they stopped and collected and sold what they loved. And many companies have followed or tried to follow them. And I think it's hard because when you get to the size of anthropology now, you're trying to please a lot of people. It's a massive corporation now. But people like that who have a passion, who go for things, who are pretty open. Apple was the same. You look what Apple was sort of fighting against at the time, Microsoft, that was a competition. And Apple went down the road of let's be normal, you know, and they became normal. And that's what they were. They celebrated something without trying to. They brought a normality to it. Where I'm a strong believer, we're past the days of buzzwords and soundbites. People don't believe that anymore. I always say, see, when you talk to a customer, talk to them like they're a friend that comes to your house that night for dinner. You know, be open to them, and they'll be open back to you.
I've certainly found that. Like I've worked in retail for a long time, worked in bars for a long time, and it was never, you know, you've got managers and bosses who are saying, sell more, upsell this, but it's like, it's not natural. If the guy doesn't want the thing, you can't sell it to him. You want to, so, I mean, what
you need to get to that point where you're not putting somebody off. You know, it's got to be, you want people to support you, you want people, you know, getting a customer to buy, say in your instance, a suit, that's fine, or a jacket, an umbrella, tie, you sell a lot of different things. Getting someone to buy a suit from you is fantastic. Getting them to come back and buy a second suit is even better. If that's what you want to do. So that person, You want them to feel relaxed, you want them to, and that's the same with anything. It doesn't matter if it's a motor car, a house or whatever. If you go in and you go, the reason I don't think this is right for you is that.
Yeah.
If you tell them some things that they may necessarily not want to hear, but they know it's with all sincerity and it's got a reason to support it, then they will equally believe you when you tell them that is really good. You know, and I think as it's building relationships or bringing something that's
absolutely. I mean, our customers, we get a lot of repeat custom, and I think it's because of that. It's because we have this kind of intimate environment. You know, it is one customer at a time. You know, I wouldn't mind. It's funny. I was on Twitter the other day, just searching for, doing the kind of market research, searching competitors and things like that. And I'd seen a guy who had taken a screenshot of his phone and he timed how long it took to go into town into big suit sellers, that won't name. But he had timed from when he went into the front door to the left, and he said, "Brilliant! I've just picked up a suit, 2 shirts, a tie, a pair of shoes, and it was under 15 minutes." And I thought that's so not what it's not.
I think there's something. I think you know what I think we should do. I mean, we're very fortunate in this country. We have some of the finest products. And in your world, one of my big love affairs is tweed. And tweed just happens to come from my favourite. Condé Nast Traveller once asked me, as a contributor, where was your where's your favourite island? And I had just came back from off the coast of Burma, and we're sailing in the Andaman Islands, Andaman Sea. And my favourite island is Lord's Harris. My wife's grandparents on one side are of Herrick, they're from Harris, and it's like no other island. I remember when I was 23, 24 for the first time, 25 years ago, 26, 27 years ago, and it was phenomenal. I fell in love with the place. And the only regret I've ever really got is we had the chance of getting a family home on it. But it's not really a regret because we would never have used it, and it had to be used, so it was given to someone else who would use it. But that island I love, and it just happens that island produces some of the finest material in the world.
Absolutely.
But I think we've never really, and it's a bit like whiskey, whiskey's an all affair of mine. I think we're now realising, we've been sitting in a gold mine for some years, but we've never really promoted it. If tweed was Italian, or if whiskey was French, take my word, they would be out there. And we need to do more of that, and we have to get support. I'm a great believer, and one of the things I'm hopefully going to help bring to Edinburgh Napier University. I'm the Chancellor at Edinburgh, I don't know if you know that, but one of the things I want to bring is this, it's a mindset, I'm not quite sure how we're going to develop it, but it's what I call the ACE project, and it's bringing together the worlds of art, commerce and education. They've got to feed each other. They live with each other every day. They've got to respect each other. And we have to do that with things like, tweed, whiskey, some of our local products. We've got to celebrate it and do interesting things with it. Avoid gimmicks. But I just think, that whole area is something that goes beyond fashion. It's something that goes beyond trends. It's like your suit, the Prince of Wales. I love it. I've got a nice Prince of Wales suit myself. It's classic. You could wear that 50 years ago.
Definitely.
50 years ago it looked as good then as it does today.
Absolutely.
And I think more and more in Scotland anyway, people are becoming a little bit more, how would I say, relaxed. Maybe it's the sunshine, who knows? But they are becoming relaxed, And when I grew up, there was an awful lot of one phrase I always hated, and it was the phrase, "Who do they think they are?" I hated that. So it was just oozing up negativity. And I just think, well, let them be who they are. They may be different to you, but so what? Just focus on what you're doing, and you can do two things when you get the morning. You can get up and you can be miserable, or you can get up and you can think, it's not perfect, but I'm going to try and make it better. And I've always done that. So I think one of the things with fashions in this country, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, I never really saw it so much in Scotland. It was always, look at them, they're a bit different, who do they think they are? the whole new romantic thing with Westwood and all that came coming through changed a lot of things, and that brought about. And then in the 90s, Glasgow loved it. With the whole, the end of the 80s Garden Fest one. I think Billy Connolly said it was like someone had opened the sunroof in the city.
Right.
And it didn't come to life. And from that it came on. Whereas more and more you're seeing men taking a bit of pride in their, I was up on a roof today at the chimney just to get, I am like a jakey for lack of a better word today. But men are taking a bit more pride in what they're wearing. And I think, we need a bit more flair and we need a bit more without being, too much of a peacock.
Yeah.
But natural things.
I think there still exists that sort of who do they think they are in Scotland. I think there's still that.
It's something we need to get rid of.
Yeah.
There's no fanning about it. Let's just get rid of it. It's not serving any purposes. It's just full of negativity and it's not big and it's not clever. Let's get rid of it. Let's make Scotland better than that. That's my take on it.
And I think that kind of hinders some people's sort of personality and expression when it comes to clothes. It's a confidence thing, and I think that it's something that I don't consider myself as dressing very flamboyantly. I think I try and dress well, and I have little kind of hints of kind of eccentricity, and when customers come in, it's that sort of thing that I try and get out of customers, and I do those little, with the guy wanting pink buttonholes, and it was like, get it.
That's great. Go for it, because if you're wearing a Prince of Wales suit walking with a beautiful tie on, you could walk about and not get noticed in New York. You could walk about in Paris, you could walk about in Milan, you could walk about in London, in Glasgow or in Scotland, because we are a lot smaller. You do stand out more. But if you think back to what Scotland was like in the 30s and the 40s, men would take and the 50s even, men would take, great pride in how the dresses were going up the dancing, and it's that way, there's that whole, I love this Glasgow phrase, gallus. I've always loved gallus.
Definitely.
If we can keep the gallus and just get rid of the anger or the bitterness, it exists because another's doing something a bit more flamboyant, let them be, So I think more and more men are getting a little bit more confidence, and I think women likewise, because it's the whole thing. Women have had a pretty shit deal in the last how many years, decades and decades, whereas they're becoming global leaders and heads of industry. I think it's a brilliant thing because they're bringing their own thing to it. They're bringing a bit of, I've never been, and I said, it was man and woman, I've never been a case of, and it's something in this government I don't agree with, we must have 5 men and we must have 5 women. I'd rather have just 10 of the right people. I don't care if it's 9 men and 1 guy, or 9 guys and 1 woman. I don't really care, I just want the right people for the right job. But women are thankfully becoming more involved in business and day-to-day things, and they go on with things. I like that, But I'm from a family where there's very strong women. I'm just generally the one that sits in the corner and says nothing. A mother, 2 sisters, one sister now, and my wife and my daughter are all incredibly strong people.
Super. Nice one. I think we've kind of covered a lot of things.
Life and drivel.
Absolutely, and that's what it's about. That's what sitting in a sunny day, on some nice glass of
I now need to go into a storage unit. I need to go and see a mutual friend. The storage unit will unfold it, and then I need to go back and go up 4 floors and figure out how I'm going to fix a collapsed chimney. But that's what it's about. Do you know what I mean? It's things like that. And then I started a little thing called the Antiquarian Soul, which we never touched on. But it's collecting and selling unusual objects and getting involved in materials. I don't mean like Colin and Justin, we were both good friends. But it's more just little make things interesting, not on a massive scale. So I need to go and see 2 other things that I might be buying today that I don't really need. But it's important you only buy things that you love.
I agree.
And it makes it hard to sell them. Sell it.
Cool. So episode 4, pretty good. We had a bit of a hiatus after Christmas, but life kind of got in the way. Bought a house and business was busy. So that's what you need to do, isn't it? Anyway, I'll put all the links to some of the things we've talked about below, and as usual, keep following us, keep checking out the last videos if you haven't already, and look forward to seeing you all in episode 5. Cheers. Thanks very much, David.
Definitely, perfect. I
Nice
hope
one.
it grown.
Me too.
Well, Alan, anything you can get